I now come to Auzu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I now come to my next video podcast entitled Children of Israel Part 3 Divine Favors on Them. Verse 247. That is 47th verse of Surah number 2. Ya Bani Israel askuru nimati allati an'amtu alaykum wa anni faddaltukum alal alameen. Translation: O children of Israel, remember my favor which I bestowed upon you, and remember that I gave you preference over the worlds. Comments: glimpses of my favor that Allah spoke of earlier in verse 240, that is 40th surah of this chapter 2, are being mentioned one by one from this verse. The first mentioned here is the divine preference given to the children of Israel in granting them the divine favor over all the worlds. As for worlds, alameen in Arabic, it means other communities in this context. And as for the reason for that preference, Allah says in verse 137th verse of Surah number 7, quote unquote, and the fair word of your Lord was fulfilled upon the children of Israel because of their patience. That was the patience they displayed while suffering at the hands of the despotic Pharaoh and his people. And in this recounting of the exemplary patience displayed in the face of terrible torment, there is a hint for the Muslims of today to exercise similar patience in the adverse circumstances the latter find themselves surrounded with now. The Muslims, however, it is sad to note, are resorting to manifest acts of impatience, thus and otherwise as well, betraying lack of faith in Allah and His message. No wonder, therefore, that the Muslims merit no favor from Allah and end up as the favorite whipping boy for all and sundry around the world today. Next verse, verse 248, 48th verse of Surah number 2. وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا لَا تَجْزِي نَفْسٌ عَنْ نَفْسٍ شَيْئًا وَلَا يُقْبَلُ مِنْهَا شَفَاعَةٌ وَلَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْهَا عَدْلٌ وَلَا هُمْ يُنْصَرُونَ. Translation: and fear that day when none can be of any avail on anything to another. Then, when no intercession will be accepted from anyone, nor any ransom taken, and when they will be given no help. Let me read this translation again. and fear that day when none can be of any avail on anything to another, when no intercession will be accepted from anyone nor any ransom taken, and when they will be given no help. Comments. This is a divine statement made quite categorically. In defiance thereof, however, almost the entire Christendom and many Muslims cling to their futile fond hopes that Jesus and Muhammad, may peace be upon them both, shall ransom their sinning souls out with the two messengers' respective questionable powers of intercession. Verse 249, 49th verse of Surah number 2. وَإِذْ نَجَّيْنَاكُمْ مِنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ يَسُومُونَكُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ يُذَبِّحُونَ أَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَيَسْتَحْيُونَ نِسَاءَكُمْ وَفِي ذَلِكُمْ بَلَاءٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ عَظِيمٌ. Translation. And there was that time when we delivered you from Pharaoh's people. They were inflicting on you a terrible torment. They were slaughtering your sons and sparing the lives of your women folk. And therein was a mighty trial from your Lord. Next verse, verse 250, 50th verse of Surah number 2. وَإِذْ فَرَّقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ فَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ وَأَغْرَقْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ. Translation. And the time when we split the sea for you, we then saved you, and we drowned Pharaoh's people, and you had been watching. Next verse, verse 251, 51st verse of Surah number 2. وَإِذْ وَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 40 لَيْلَةً ثُمَّ اتَّخَذْتُمُ الْعِجْلَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ. Translation. And the time when we gave an appointment to Moses for 40 nights, you then took to the calf after he left. You then took to the calf after he left, he, that is Moses, and you were indulging in wickedness. Next verse, verse 252, 52nd verse of Surah number 2. ثُمَّ عَفَوْنَا عَنْكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. Translation. Then after that, we, that is the divine establishment, forgave you that you might express gratefulness. Comments. The episode mentioned in verses 51 and 52 here is explained in greater detail in verses 7:142 to 7:154. That is 142nd verse to 154th verse of Surah number 7. The divine requirement was to give Moses written tablets containing admonition and details on everything. For the appointment with Allah, Moses had to go away from his people, the children of Israel, for 40 nights. It was during this period of Moses' absence from them that the children of Israel took to the abomination of worshipping a calf-like object made from ornaments. Next verse, verse 253, 53rd verse of Surah number 2. وَإِذَا آتَيْنَا مُوسَى الْكِتَابَ وَالْفُرْقَانَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَهْتَدُونَ. Translation. And that was that time when we gave to Moses the book and the standard by which to distinguish between right and wrong, so that you might be guided. Comments. Verse 365, that is 65th verse of Surah number 3, makes it clear that the divine book, Torah, was not revealed till after Prophet Abraham. And in verse 546, 46th verse of Surah number 5, it is made clear that the divine book, Gospel, Injil, was revealed to Prophet Jesus, and that the Torah was revealed before the time of Jesus. Again, in verse 543, that is 43rd verse of Surah number 5, it is mentioned that the Jews have the Torah. The circumstantial evidence from the Qur'an, this circumstantial evidence from the Qur'an leaves no room for any doubt that the divine book given to Moses was the Torah. The Arabic word used in the original revelation is Al-Furqan. Furqan is a thing that distinguishes between good and evil, between right and wrong. In verse 829, 29th verse of Surah number 8, the Quran tells the believers, quote unquote, if you fear Allah, He effects Furqan for you. The word is used in that verse without the prefix al, and the quoted part of the verse obviously means that Allah enables the believers who fear Him to distinguish between good and evil, between right and wrong. In verse 53, which we are currently studying, as also in verse 2148, 48th verse of Surah number 21, the word with the prefix al, that is Al-Furqan, is used as a reference to the Torah. In other words, the Torah is described as a criterion or a standard by which to distinguish between good and evil, between right and wrong. In verses 3-4, 4th verse of Surah number 3, and 25-1, the first verse of Surah number 25, the Quran is also described as Al-Furqan.